Hello, my name's Andrew Jepson. I'm the Stobs Camp Project Officer, and I'm here today to show you around some of the highlights of our Heritage Trail app. By November 1914, German civilians were brought to the camp, and it's in buildings like this and beyond where supplies arriving at the camp were first brought. Part of the site is the British Guard camp, and all around here would have been huts for the British soldiers, YMCA buildings, a cookhouse and further ancillary structures. Behind me is believed to be an officer's hut from the First World War, and we know from the Second World War the Clerk of Works was based here, and it comes complete with its own double glazing. We now have a spectacular view of the POW camp, but actually before the war this hillside would have been covered by bell tents. But by spring 1915 over 150 buildings were constructed for the purposes of interment. These included 80 barrack huts, a large hospital and many ancillary structures. It cost the War Department over £50,000 to construct. The prisoner of war camp was rectangular in shape and had triple barbed wire fencing, electric lights and sentry posts around the perimeter. Camp was split into Camp A, B, C and D. Each had 20 barrack huts, cookhouses, bathhouses, post offices, laundries and ablutions blocks. Each compound also had an exercise yard, although this was not necessarily on flat ground. On one side of the camp is the hospital, which consisted of 6 ward huts, an operating theatre and a mortuary. Camp B and the hospital were the focus of commissioned metal detectoring surveys in 2017 and unearthed coins, regimental badges, bullets and domestic artefacts. The road that splits the camp in two is called YMCA Road, and in the foreground we can see a drying hut and a bathing pond. This area was the main entrance to the camp, and we will visit these later. We can perhaps imagine what life was like for the prisoners here, with no freedom and no end to the war in sight. It's not surprising that internment camps like this were rife with depression. Here we can see a practice trench and fortification dug by British soldiers prior to the First World War. It was the focus of an Archaeology Scotland excavation, and a number of the finds suggested a pre-war date, included coins and a military cuff button. This is the main entrance into the POW camp. Here at the entrance to the camp is a brick-lined bathing pond. It's largely dried out now, but you can still see its outline. So here we've arrived at the POW camp and we've just crossed the barbed wire line. Here you can see behind me another of our drying huts that was used to dry horse tack and soldiers' uniforms. So we're walking up YMCA Bray, and on my left we have camps A and B, and this is where the German civilians would have been held. And on my right we have Camp C and D. This is where the German military were held. In the summer of 1916, all the civilians were transferred out of the camp and sent to the Isle of Man. From that point on, the site then became wholly for military prisoners. This is the area of the exercise yards, and you can see in this picture prisoners walking up and down inside their compounds. On either side of the road you've got the barbed wire triple fencing. These are the remains of the YMCA building. It opened in July 1906 for the benefit of the British soldiers. The building and the contents cost £1,650. Welcome to the last remaining First World War barrack hut in the prisoner of war camp. It's in huts like this one that prisoners spent their internment. We're here in the former German POW cemetery. With so many prisoners at the camp, it's inevitable that death occurs. We've sadly come to the end of the tour today.